Hi and welcome to the channel, and today we're looking at creating logos. So we're going to create a logo from JPEG and then import it into Inkscape. This is a 4-part video, so this first part will revolve around using Inkscape trace bitmap feature and how to use that to the best that we can, and exploring the different options in there to produce our SVG at the end of it. So we're vectorizing that JPEG. Then review the image, see if we've got any problems in there. The image will come out as a stencil, so the middle of the image will have the logo in there and you'll be able to see through that. We want the reverse, we want that background removed and that middle part almost like a stamp, so we can extrude that out. So that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video, so stay tuned. If you like this video, please hit a like and also subscribe to the channel. I also have a Ko-Fi site where you can actually donate to my contributions to the community, and that's at ko-fi.com/mang0. So this is the logo that I'm going to recreate in FreeCAD. So we're going to use some tools in Inkscape to convert that to a vector graphic, bring that over to FreeCAD, and then start padding or extracting out parts to create this logo in some kind of solid form. Now I'm going to show you a couple of techniques for doing this. So if one doesn't work, you can move to the other. But the first technique we're going to do is using the trace bitmap. I'm going to talk around how to use that trace bitmap so you can get an idea of some of the gotchas in there where you may get some artifacts appear that you need to resolve, and how the actual trace bitmap actually works. So this is the logo, and what we're going to do is go to File and Import. This is the simple logo that we're using with this one. I'll be getting progressively more complex as I move along through the tutorials. So this is logo 1. Let's open that up. And it will ask you first, when you're importing the logo, this is a JPEG that I'm importing. It'll ask you what you want to do with the actual logo itself, or the actual image file. Now I want to embed it in this. If I link it and make any amendments to it, it gets reflected in the file. I'm not looking to make amendments on the logo itself. I'm just looking to convert it. But it's best to embed it just in case we accidentally edit the file and it gets saved back to our original image. Now the image DPI is going to take it straight from the file. I'm not going to worry about smooth or blocky. These two here, we're just taking it as it. Let's OK that, and what will happen is that it'll be imported in, and we have our image here. What we need to do with this image is vectorize it. So that converts the image as it is, as in raster image of pixels, to a vector image. Now the vector image has a number of mathematical points and a description, which is actually plain text that describes where all the paths are. So the image itself will be converted to maths and paths, and we'll be able to see that when it's converted and be able to see it in the text as well. This image is sitting here. We can see it's a raster. So if we zoom in, don't use the zoom tool, you can see it starts pixelating as we zoom in. So what I want to do is convert this. Now there's two ways of getting to the tool that we need. We can right click on the image. So if I click on the select and transform objects, which is F1 on the shortcut keys, so I can select the image and right click. I can go to trace bitmap or up to path and trace bitmap there. Now it's in the path menu because when you trace bitmap it will be converted to paths. Now you get the trace bitmap window open. This may differ depending on what OSs you're on, and also what version of Inkscape. I believe for the Mac OS you will have a button down here that allows you to flip between the multiple scans and the single scans, and you just press on that button to get what you want. But as long as you've got these two, you're okay. And I'm going to be using the multiple scans. Now multiple scans allows you to specify a number of scans. So scans down here is at the moment set to 8. So when we're specifying the number of scans, that will take basically literally a number of scans through the image and section out the image depending on what you've picked here. So we've got brightness steps, colors and grays. If we've picked brightness steps, it will look through the image, looking for 8 levels of brightnesses, and will section out literal copies of that image and just pull out those parts that are that brightness. The same with colours, but it does it on the colours. And we'll demonstrate that in a minute. So we'll start with brightness steps. Now you may find one will be more effective than the other depending on the content of your logo or what's in your image. And we can see that and inspect that as we go. So I'm going to click on brightness steps. I want to stack the scans, but I don't want to use the smoothing. I find this can cause a bit of an issue sometimes. And if we look at see what this does, it actually applies the Garrison blur to the bitmap before tracing, which means we get a fuzzy edge. And most of the time I find that's not very helpful when trying to create a bitmap. We tend to use a Garrison blur to cover up mistakes. We don't want to do that. We want to correct those mistakes. So we turn that off. Now the good thing is that we can do a preview on here. So we've got brightness. Let's update this. And you can see we've got this image here. So I've gone 8 scans through there. Let's do something like 6 because I don't need 8. It's quite a simplistic image. And I would go for colour for this, but let's go for the brightness steps and see what we get. So I'm going to go for that, and let's have a look, see what actually happens. So I hit OK, and what happens, we wait for this button to come back, so it comes back on grade. We don't get a message or anything, which is a shame, because sometimes it can be confusing whether this has done it or not. But if we look at the back, you can see back at the image it's gone more like a grey scale. So we're all good there. Don't hit OK again, otherwise it will do it again, so we don't need to do that. Just close the window down. Now what's happened, it hasn't replaced the original image. If I click and drag this, you see the original image underneath. So we've got the raster based image here and the vector based image here. So that's the JPEG, this is the vector. Let's bring those two together. There we go. So if you remember when we zoomed in, you can see the pixelization starting here. So this is where we want to have a look and see if we got any artifacts or any problems around here. So you can see we've got now a much cleaner line, but you look at all this in here, there's artifacts here, and that's because it's found a place of lighter brightness and it's pulled those into separate paths. And you can see that when you go to object and objects, and this gives you the layer, and everything's grouped together at the moment, so remember that. Now remember we've got 6 scans, so there should be 6 paths here, so each path is basically a slice, well not really a slice, a pass through the image, and getting lighter as we go down. So let's ungroup this. That's ungrouped now, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to zoom out a bit more. I'm going to show you what's happened. So using the select and transform object, let's move that top layer out. Let's click off and just click one, so one path has been selected, and move that out. Let's move over here. So there's one there. You can see that as we go down they get lighter. 2, 3, 4, 5, and the last one 6. Yep, that's the last one 6. So you can see how they've got lighter and picked up basically less and less detail as they've gone down with this one. It may differ depending on which one you want, so I'm going to get rid of all these and I'm going to use these two. But first, the thing first is I'm going to spec these and have a look to see if we've got any artifacts in there. They look quite clean actually along there. So this is the one thing you need to do, is inspect your vector to see if we've got anything weird going on. It's looking nice and clean actually. There we go. So we've got some problems here. as we move around the image, or around the vector. A few problems there, some in there. So this is probably the artifacts you saw taking chunks out of the image. And there we go as well, look at those. So we've got those there. And we'll be able to see this in more detail actually when we remove this part here. And we've probably got the same over here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse this. So at the moment, if I just bring this over here, you can see that this is a cutout. Now, I don't want that as a cutout. It's really easy to resolve that. So we double click and we pull away the points. And what happens when we do that, when we pull this point right down and over, you can see that let's undo that a second. It's gone a bit mental there. Let's try that again. So you have to be very careful if you're using a touchpad with this, because it can be a bit temperamental. So I'm going to pull these out of the way and I'm going to delete these points. So I just delete these out. There we go, those are all gone. Delete that last one. So we've got our vector here, and let's see what's going on. So now we've pulled those away, we've got these everywhere, and these were our artifacts. Now these are probably different parts of that, so we could select these if we so desired and get rid of them, but that's going to take us ages to actually do that. See, we can select those and get rid of that. That's going to take us ages, so we don't want to do that. Let's have a look at the other one. So let's zoom out using shift and just tap in to zoom out. And what we're going to do is look at the other image. So I'm not happy with that vector at all. So I'll look at our other one. Now, do we have the same here? And it's around here, wasn't it, that we had the problem? This one might be clean. So let's do the same. Clicking on our selected transform objects, double click and move these away. So actually I could connect that point to there. There we go, let's move that out of the way. I missed that one actually. Just move those out of the way and just highlight them. Delete. Delete. And delete these two. Got one last one sitting there. Might be this one actually. And that's restricted to there. Let's see what we got. This may have resolved it actually. I think that's resolved it. So it's depending on what slice you take, may have different amounts of artifacts in there, or maybe just right for you, but just work the borders around here, to having a look to see if you've got anything that's a bit out of the ordinary that you need to resolve. Another nice thing you can do also is with these, you see we're looking quite clean. We're looking very clean actually. This is kind of the best one I've done. Yep. So that's nice and clean. So one of the things is that this may be too over complex. It may have quite a lot of points. So this one's got quite a few points in there. You have to be careful with this next technique, because if you want to reduce this amount of points, you can go up to path and simplify. And that's reduced the points down. You can see those points have reduced down, but we may end up with a more rounded image. So I'm looking at this, it doesn't look quite right. Let's Control Z that. You can see that in here. Now just going back and forth with Control Z. So let's come in here. So you can see I'm just redoing and undoing. You see how that's rounded those, because it's reduced the amount of points. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave that as is. And that is quite a nice end result. I'm quite happy with that. So it's worth going through the different paths to find out which one's which. So this is path 133. We don't want that one, because it's that old one. So let's leave that one there. And what I'm going to do is do the same with this logo, but this time do it with the colours. So what I'm going to do now is do exactly the same, but this time I'm going to be using the colour one on this one. So rather than the brightness, click on it, right click and trace bitmap. This time we're going to move to colours. So click on colours and we're going to go 6 again on there. Okay, now this may take a little longer, and what will happen is that we'll divide this out into 6 scans and we'll try to fit the colours across those 6 scans. So let's come back now, let's close that. Now again we should have 2. So our raster is not there, it's here. So this is our raster. You can see it's highlighted image there. I don't need that anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. So we're going to deal with our vector. Let's ungroup this, right click and go to ungroup. So that will break this out into the individual scans. There we go, so we've got all the paths there. And we can start dividing these out. So I'm just going to click off and just click on, so the path is highlighted there. And we'll just move that. So you can see we've got some background there. And we definitely don't want that. And again, background, don't want that. More background. We definitely want that, so that's removed that one, so that's good. And then we've got the other colour there, and we've got, is that another one? That's the white. So we don't want the white. Got this one. Let's go for the blue. Remembering, because we're bringing it into FreeCAD, we don't want colours. We just want the shape. So that's good. So we've got that there. Again, we can zoom in and have a look, see if we've got any artifacts. And I know for a fact that this one will be clean because I've used this before on this one. And it's looking good. And we do the same. So I want this reverse, I don't want any of this background, so I'm going to double click this background and just move the nodes out the way. I can even connect those together, those nodes together there, just moving them out the way. There we go. And we'll take those down the bottom, this one, get rid of that, come on, there we go. And our last one, get rid of that. So that's our logo done. Let's see what we got. So let's just have a quick inspection. It's looking good, actually. It's looking very good. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. So that's all good. So now we can save either or of these. We don't want them both. So I'm going to go for the colour one. So I'm going to take this one. Logo SVG, that'll do. That's my old file. Let's replace that. And I'm just going to get rid of the old one, which is over here. I'm going to use a colour one. Now it's worth adjusting the document because it may cause a bit of problem. You may get some extra space on the bottom, so just bring this document up. So we're going to document and I'm going to just adjust the size. Now in Inkscape, if I remember rightly, it adjusts it from the top down, so that's bring our logo down to the bottom. That'll do. Document properties, and then we can just custom size, width and height. I'm going to give it a bit more width just to give it a bit of breathing space. There we go. And just bring the height down. This probably doesn't matter actually, but I like to keep it nice and tight to the actual image. So let's go 200. A bit more. Just using the up and down arrow keys to bring that up. There we go. That will do. So let's go for 220 by 220. And just place that somewhere in the center. Let's close that and save that. So I'm going to save as, I'm sticking it down low, so I'm going to place this as shield star logo. So that's there. That's all done. So in the next video we'll actually import this into FreeCAD, deal with any problems that we encounter, and I'll teach you how to use the sketcher and the options in the sketcher to remove some of the clutter in there. And we'll do some refinement around that logo. So that's already up on my channel, and I'll see you in there shortly. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to my site, and also I have a Ko-Fi site where you can actually donate a few pence or a few pounds, dollars, or whatever your currency is, and that's at ko-fi.com/mang0, and there you'll be able to help me fund my site, and all the money that I actually get from any funds will actually get pushed back into the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing. I'll see you next time.